You are standing in a room full of people, and no one sees you. Your mouth is moving. Words are coming out. Reasonable words, intelligent words. But they dissolve into the air like smoke, and the conversation continues as if you never spoke. You watch someone else, louder, more animated, less qualified, repeat your idea 5 minutes later, and suddenly the room leans forward. Heads nod. Someone writes it down. You feel the familiar tightness in your chest, that specific burn of being invisible despite being right there. This is not new to you. You have lived this moment in conference rooms where your contributions vanish until someone with a deeper voice echoes them. You have lived it at dinner tables, where your stories get interrupted, where others talk over you and never notice they have done it. You have lived it in relationships where your needs get postponed, your boundaries ignored, your presence treated as optional. You are capable. You are competent. In many cases, you are more skilled, more thoughtful, more deserving than the people who seem to command effortless respect. And yet you remain unseen. So you have tried to fix it. You have tried speaking louder, but your voice cracks under the pressure and you sound shrill instead of strong. You have tried being more assertive, but it comes out aggressive and people pull back, labeling you difficult. You have tried performing confidence, standing tall, making eye contact, using the power poses you read about, but you feel like a child wearing their parents' clothes, hoping no one notices the costume. You have tried being indispensable, saying yes to everything, proving your worth through productivity, but the more you give, the less they seem to value it. You have tried every strategy the world told you would work, and you are exhausted. Exhausted from trying, exhausted from performing, exhausted from the constant calculation of how to be in order to finally be seen. And here is what no one tells you. You have been solving the wrong problem. The issue is not that you lack confidence. It is not that you need to speak up more, or dress better, or project more energy, or master the art of small talk. The issue is that you have been taught to seek respect outside of yourself, to perform for it, to earn it through action and adjustment and endless accommodation. You have been taught that respect is something granted by others, something you must win, something that comes from what you do rather than who you are. But watch the people who actually command respect, not the loud ones, not the performers, the ones who walk into a room and the temperature changes, the ones who speak once in an hour-long meeting and everyone goes silent to listen, the ones who never raise their voice, but somehow their whisper carries more weight than anyone's shout, the ones who seem to do nothing and yet shape everything. They are not performing. They are not trying. They are not seeking your approval, or validation or acknowledgement. They are simply present, fully, entirely, unapologetically present. And that presence creates a gravitational field that pulls respect toward them, without effort, without strategy, without words. This is the paradox that changes everything. The people who command the most respect often say the least. They do not demand attention. They magnetize it. They do not perform authority. They embody it. They have discovered something that our noisy, performance-obsessed world desperately wants you to forget. The true authority doesn't come from what you say or do, but from the quality of your presence, from the depth of your rootedness in yourself, from your willingness to occupy your own space without apology or explanation. This is not a metaphor. This is neuroscience. When you enter a room anchored in yourself, calm in your body, certain of your value without needing to prove it, other human beings register this at a level far below conscious thought. Their amygdala, the ancient part of the brain that detects threat and safety in milliseconds, scans you before you open your mouth. It reads your posture, your breath, your energetic quality. It asks, is this person at war with themselves or at peace? Are they seeking something from me or whole within themselves? Do they need my validation or do they have their own ground? And when the answer is that you are grounded, that you are whole, that you need nothing from them, their brain makes a decision that bypasses logic entirely. This person is safe. This person is certain. This person has authority. Respect follows automatically, not because you demanded it, not because you earned it, but because you stopped performing for it. You might not believe this yet. You might think this sounds too simple, too easy, too removed from the complex social dynamics you navigate every day. You might be thinking, but I have tried being myself, and it did not work. I have tried being quiet, and people ignored me. I have tried not performing, and I became invisible. And you are right, because there is a difference between the quiet of presence and the quiet of hiding. There is a difference between stillness that comes from inner authority and stillness that comes from fear. There is a difference between not performing because you do not need to, and not performing because you do not believe you are allowed to take up space. What you are about to learn is not passivity. It is not about shrinking or dimming your light or becoming more agreeable. It is the opposite. It is about becoming so rooted in yourself, so undeniably present, that your existence alone becomes a statement. It is about accessing a kind of power that our culture barely recognizes because it cannot be packaged or sold or performed. The power of someone who has stopped abandoning themselves to please others. This journey will take you through 10 stages of transformation. You will begin by understanding exactly why you have been performing, why your nervous system learned to seek validation, why the pattern of invisibility is not your fault, but a response to a world that taught you to earn your right to exist. You will learn the precise mechanics of quiet authority, not as an abstract concept, but as a physical practice, something you can feel in your body, something you can return to in any moment of pressure or doubt. You will discover the levels of mastery, the stages you move through as you shift from performance to presence. You will learn the core practice that anchors everything, a simple, repeatable method for returning to your center when the world pulls you off balance. You will build layers of advanced tools that deepen your authority, refine your presence, expand your capacity to hold space without collapse or aggression. You will understand the neuroscience behind why this works, the brain chemistry of respect. The nervous system states that repel or attract, authority, the mirror neurons that make your inner state contagious to everyone around you. You will see the research that proves what you are about to experience is not mystical, but mechanical. Not luck, but biology responding to specific inputs you can control. And then you will learn to apply this under pressure, in conflict, in crisis, when someone disrespects you, when you are anxious or uncertain or afraid. You will practice holding your ground without defense, leading without loudness, commanding attention without demanding it. You will discover that mastery is not the absence of challenge, but the ability to remain present within challenge. By the end, you will not be trying to embody quiet authority. You will be someone who does. This will not be a performance you put on. It will be who you are. The recognition will be cellular. The shift will be permanent. And respect, real respect, not the performative kind, not the kind you have to maintain through constant effort, will become as natural as breathing. But here is what you need to understand before we begin. This is not about changing who you are. You are not broken. You are not deficient. You do not need to become someone else. What you need is to strip away everything that is not you, all the performance, all the accommodation, all the ways you have twisted yourself to fit into spaces that were never designed for your shape. What you need is to remember what it feels like to be fully yourself, unapologetically yourself, and to trust that this, exactly this, nothing added, nothing performed, is enough. More than enough. The world has taught you that you need to earn respect through action, through achievement, through constant proof of your value. The world has taught you wrong. Respect is not earned. It is recognized. It is the natural response to someone who has stopped arguing for their own limitations, someone who has stopped apologizing for their existence, someone who shows up in their full presence and refuses to diminish themselves to make others comfortable. You already have everything you need. You have always had it. It has just been buried under years of conditioning, under the weight of 1,000 small moments where you learned to be less so, others could be more. This journey is not about acquiring something new. It is about excavation. It is about removing the layers until what remains is the truth of you, solid, grounded, undeniable. And when you stand in that truth, when you speak from that place, when you simply exist without apology or explanation, something shifts in every room you enter. People feel it. They cannot name it. They do not know why. But they lean in. They listen. They respect you without you asking for it, without you performing for it, without you doing anything at all except being exactly who you are. This is not a promise. This is a fact. And by the end of this audiobook, you will know it in your bones. So take a breath. Feel your one body in this moment. Notice where you are holding tension, where you are braced against the world, where you are already performing, even though no one is watching, and let it go, just for now, just for the length of this journey. Let yourself consider the possibility that everything you have been trying to fix about yourself is not actually broken, that the respect you have been chasing has been waiting inside you all along, that the authority you seek is not something you lack, but something you have forgotten how to access. We are going to remember together. We are going to build it back, piece by piece, practice by practice, until quiet authority is not something you think about, but something you are. Let us begin. You know the weight of trying too hard. You know it intimately. You know it in your body before your mind even names it. It starts in the morning, sometimes before you even leave your house. You are getting ready for a meeting, and already you are rehearsing. Already you are running through what you will say, how you will say it, which words will make you sound confident, which tone will make them take you seriously. You practice in the mirror. You practice in the car. You arrive at the office with your opening line polished, your posture arranged, your face set in the expression you think conveys competence. And then the meeting begins. You wait for the right moment to speak. You listen for the gap, the pause, the opening where your contribution will land perfectly. But the conversation moves fast. People talk over each other. Someone makes a joke and everyone laughs and the moment passes. You try again. You lean forward. You open your mouth. And someone else starts talking, louder, more assertive, and you close your mouth and lean back and tell yourself you will speak next time. When you finally get your chance, when there is finally space for your idea, you can feel your heart racing. Your throat tightens. You start to speak and the words come out too fast, too detailed, over-explained. You are giving them the background, the context, the reasoning, because you need them to understand. You need them to see that you have thought this through, that you are not just throwing out random ideas. But as you talk, you watch their faces. You see the subtle glaze, the polite nodding, the way their attention drifts. You are losing them. So you talk faster. You add more detail. You try to make it clearer. But now you are rambling and you can hear it and you cannot stop. And then someone interrupts. They summarize your point in one clean sentence, often getting it slightly wrong, but saying it with such certainty that the room responds. Heads nod. Someone says, "Yes, exactly." The conversation moves forward, building on your idea, but no one attributes it to you. No one looks your way. It is as if you were never there. You sit back in your chair, your chest is tight, your face is hot. You tell yourself it does not matter, that the important thing is the idea got through, that you are being petty for caring who gets credit. But it does matter. It matters because this is not the first time, it is not the 10th time, it is the 100th time, the 1000th time. And you are tired of being the person whose contributions evaporate. This is the daily experience of performance that never quite lands, of effort that goes unrecognized, of trying so hard that the trying itself becomes the problem. You know this in social settings too. The dinner party where you cannot find your rhythm. Everyone else seems to flow naturally from topic to topic, their stories landing with laughter, their observations sparking conversation. You wait for your turn. You have a story too, a relevant one, a good one. But when you start telling it, you can feel yourself performing. Your voice gets slightly too loud. Your gestures become exaggerated. You are trying to match their energy, their ease. But it feels forced, and you know it. Feels forced, and you cannot stop it from feeling forced. Someone interrupts with a related story, and the attention shifts. You laugh along, you nod, you stay engaged. But inside, you have already left. Inside, you are calculating. Did I talk too much or not enough? Was my story boring? Do they even want me here? And the calculations make you anxious, and the anxiety makes you try harder, and the trying harder makes you more invisible. Or worse, the silence. The moment in a conversation when there is a natural pause, a breath, a space for reflection. Your nervous system reads this as danger. The silence feels like failure, like something you need to fix. So you fill it. You ask a question you do not really care about. You make an observation that adds nothing. You perform interest, perform engagement, perform the personality you think they want to see. And with every word you speak, you feel yourself becoming less real, less present, less you. The physical sensations are relentless. The tight chest that never fully releases. The shallow breathing, high in your lungs, never reaching your belly. The tension in your shoulders, your jaw, your hands clenched without you realizing it. The racing thoughts that narrate everything as it happens. Did that sound stupid? Did they notice I am nervous? Am I standing weird? Am I smiling too much? Not enough? Do I look like I belong here? You cannot turn it off. You cannot relax. Because relaxing feels like giving up, like letting your guard down, like inviting rejection. So you stay vigilant. You monitor every reaction. You adjust constantly. You are always, always performing, and it is exhausting. The exhaustion is not just mental, it is cellular. It is the bone-deep fatigue of never being able to rest in your own skin, of walking through the world in a constant state of low-level emergency, where every interaction is a test you might fail, where every relationship requires you to be someone slightly other than who you are. You see this most clearly in your close relationships. The people who should know the real you, they do not. They cannot. Because you have been managing their perception of you for so long that you have forgotten what the unmanaged version looks like. You anticipate their needs before they ask. You bend your preferences to match theirs. You swallow your irritation, your disappointment, your honest reactions, and replace them with the responses you think will keep the peace, maintain the connection, avoid conflict. And the terrible irony, the more you accommodate, the less they respect you. You can feel it happening. You say yes when you mean no, and something shifts in their eyes. You laugh at their joke that was not funny, and they start to take you less seriously. You rearrange your schedule to fit theirs again and again, and they begin to assume you have nothing more important to do. You are trying to earn their approval through flexibility, through agreeableness, through making yourself easy to be around. But respect does not come from being easy. It comes from being solid, and you have made yourself liquid, shapeless, endlessly adaptable. So they respect you less. They value you less. And you, sensing this, feeling this, try even harder. You become more accommodating, more available, more willing to bend, and the cycle deepens. At work, the pattern is even more painful because the stakes are higher. You watch people less qualified than you get promoted. You watch colleagues take credit for projects you led. You watch your manager overlook your contributions in meetings, forget to include you in important emails, assign you the administrative tasks while giving others the high visibility work. And you tell yourself stories to make it make sense. Maybe you are not assertive enough. Maybe you need to speak up more. Maybe you need to dress differently, network better, be more strategic. So you try. You practice assertiveness techniques. You schedule coffee meetings with influential people. You volunteer for visible projects. You work longer hours to prove your dedication. But none of it changes the fundamental dynamic. Because the problem is not what you are doing. The problem is the energy beneath what you are doing, the desperate quality, the seeking, the silent plea in every interaction. See me, value me, recognize me, tell me I am enough. And people feel this. They do not consciously name it, but they feel it. And it repels respect, like oil repels water. The emotional toll compounds daily. The resentment builds at them for not seeing you, at yourself for caring so much, at the whole system that seems rigged for people who were born knowing how to take up space. You watch the people who never doubt themselves, who speak with unearned confidence, who fail upward through sheer audacity. And part of you hates them. Part of you wants to be them. Part of you knows you are more capable, more thoughtful, more deserving, and it makes the invisibility even more bitter. The self-doubt is worse than the resentment. The resentment you can at least direct outward. The self-doubt turns inward, corrosive, relentless. It whispers, maybe you are fundamentally lacking. Maybe there is something wrong with you that everyone else can see, but you cannot name. Maybe you are just not one of those people who gets respect naturally. Maybe you need to accept that some people are born with it, and you were not. And beneath the self-doubt, even deeper, is the exhaustion. The existential fatigue of performing a self that is not quite yourself, of monitoring, adjusting, calculating, managing, of never being able to simply exist without strategy, of carrying the constant low-grade anxiety that you might say the wrong thing, wear the wrong expression, reveal too much or too little of yourself. You are tired of trying, tired of caring, tired of the gap between how hard you work to be seen and how little it seems to matter. You are tired of watching people who do less receive more, tired of second-guessing every interaction, tired of going home after social events and replaying every conversation, cataloguing your failures, rehearsing what you should have said. And somewhere beneath the exhaustion is a quiet rage. Not the hot kind that explodes, the cold kind that hardens, the kind that makes you want to stop caring altogether, to withdraw, to stop trying, to let them have their superficial world of performance and pretense, the kind that makes you fantasize about disappearing completely, about moving somewhere no one knows you, about starting over without the weight of all these failed attempts at being seen. But you do not disappear. You keep showing up. You keep trying. Because what is the alternative? To give up on connection entirely. To accept invisibility as permanent. To stop hoping that someday, somehow, you will figure out the code, crack the pattern, discover the secret that makes respect automatic instead of effortful. So you persist. You read the books on confidence. You practice the power poses. You work with coaches who tell you to lean in, speak up, take up space. And some of it helps, temporarily. You have moments where you feel more powerful, more present. But they do not last, because you are still performing. You are just performing a different character, the confident one, the assertive one, the one who does not care what others think. But you do care. Of course you care. You are human. And the performance of not caring is just another layer of performance, another mask on top of masks, another exhausting role to maintain. This is where you are. This is the problem, brought into full light. Not that you lack confidence or skills or intelligence or worthiness, but that you have been trying to earn respect through performance, through accommodation, through being anything other than simply, entirely, unapologetically yourself. And it is not working. It has never worked. It will never work, because respect cannot be performed. It cannot be earned through effort or strategy or endless adjustment. It can only be recognized. And it can only be recognized in someone who has stopped seeking it, someone who has found their ground, someone who no longer needs external validation because they have validation from the only source that actually matters, themselves. You are standing at the threshold of understanding this. You can feel the truth of it, even if you cannot yet embody it. You know at some level that all the trying has been solving the wrong problem, that all the performance has been building a prison, not a path. The question now is whether you are ready to stop, to put down the endless effort, to risk being seen as you actually are instead of as you think you should be. The answer lives in what comes next. Before you can dismantle this pattern, you need to understand how it was built. Because this did not start with you. This started long before you had words for what was happening, long before you could name the invisible architecture being constructed inside you. You learned this. All of it. The performance, the seeking, the constant monitoring of others' reactions. These were not flaws you were born with. They were adaptations you developed in response to a world that taught you again and again that your inherent existence was not enough. Think back. not to yesterday or last year, but to the beginning, to the moments when you were still forming your understanding of how to be in the world, how to survive, how to earn the right to take up space. You were a child, perhaps 5 or 6 years old, full of energy and noise and unfiltered presence. You ran into the living room where adults were talking, excited about something, bursting to share. And someone, a parent, a relative, a teacher, looked at you with that particular expression. The one that said, "Not now." The one that said, "You are interrupting." The one that said, "Good children wait their turn." So you learned to wait. You learned that your spontaneous self was too much, too loud, too inconvenient. You learned that being good meant being quiet, being small, being unobtrusive. You learned that love and approval came not from being yourself, but from managing yourself, from reading the room, from knowing when to speak and when to disappear. Or maybe it was different for you. Maybe you were already quiet, already gentle, already sensitive to the emotional currents around you, and you learned that this was your value. You were the easy child, the one who did not make trouble, the one who could be counted on to accommodate, to adjust, to put others first. And every time someone praised you for being so mature, so understanding, so low maintenance, you learned that your worth came from how little you asked for, how little space you took, how little burden you placed on others. Either way, the message was the same. Your inherent existence is not valuable. Your value comes from what you do for others, from how you serve, from how you adjust yourself to meet their needs. This is not an accusation against your parents or your teachers or the people who raised you. Most of them were passing down patterns they inherited, operating from their own wounds, doing the best they could with the consciousness they had. But the impact on you was real. The wiring that formed in your young brain was real, and it is still running, decades later, creating the same patterns in different contexts. Here is what happened in your neurobiology. Your brain's primary job is to keep you safe, and safety, for a child, means attachment, means belonging, means not being rejected by the people you depend on for survival. So when your natural self, your loud self, your needy self, your messy self, was met with disapproval or withdrawal or punishment, your brain registered this as a threat. Not a small threat, an existential one. Your amygdala, the ancient threat detection system in your brain, learned to associate your authentic expression with danger, and it developed a solution. Monitor the environment constantly. Scan for signs of approval or disapproval. Modulate yourself to match what others want. Suppress the parts of you that might trigger rejection. This is called hypervigilance, and it became your default operating system. Your nervous system learned to live in a state of low-level activation, always alert, always scanning, always ready to adjust. You became exquisitely attuned to other people's emotional states, their micro-expressions, their shifts in tone. You could walk into a room and immediately sense the mood, read the dynamics, know where the tension lived. This felt like a superpower. In some ways it was. It kept you safe. It helped you navigate complex social terrain. It made you useful, but it also made you exhausted, because you were never at rest. You were never simply present. You were always performing the complex calculation. What do they need from me right now? How do I need to be to maintain connection? What parts of me do I need to hide to stay safe? And here is the deeper mechanism. This vigilance wired itself into your attachment system. If your early relationships were inconsistent, If love and approval came and went based on your behavior, your achievements, your ability to meet others' needs, your brain learned that connection is conditional, that belonging must be earned, that you need to constantly prove your worth to avoid abandonment. Psychologists call these insecure attachment patterns. If you had an anxious attachment, you learned to seek constant reassurance, to monitor relationships obsessively, to become what others needed in order to keep them close. If you had an avoidant attachment, you learned to suppress your needs entirely, to appear self-sufficient, to never burden others with your vulnerability. Either way, you learned to abandon your center. You learned to make others' emotional states more important than your own. You learned that your job was to regulate them, to please them, to disappear yourself in service of connection. And all of this happened before you could speak in full sentences, before you had the cognitive capacity to question it, before you knew that any other way of being was possible. So you carried this wiring into adolescence, into adulthood, into every relationship and workplace and social setting you entered. You carried the belief, unspoken, unconscious, but utterly foundational, that you must earn your right to exist, that your value is not inherent, but conditional, that respect and recognition come from what you do, not who you are. And the culture you grew up in reinforced this at every turn. You live in a world that equates loudness with leadership, that mistakes confidence for competence, that rewards performance over presence, image over substance, the appearance of authority over the reality of it. You live in a world that tells you to hustle, to optimize, to personal brand yourself, to constantly justify your existence through productivity and achievement and visible success. You were taught that silence is awkward, that stillness is lazy, that not having an opinion on everything makes you irrelevant. You were taught to fill space with noise, to prove your worth through constant output, to never stop moving or you will be left behind. And if you were a woman, the messages were even more contradictory. Be assertive, but not aggressive. Take up space, but not too much space. Be confident, but not threatening. Speak up, but do not interrupt. Be powerful, but still likable. The goalposts moved constantly, and no matter how you adjusted, you were always somehow doing it wrong. If you were a person of color, you learned that the rules were different for you, that your natural presence might be read as threatening, that you had to work twice as hard to get half the recognition. That code switching was not a choice, but a survival strategy. That respect was something you had to carefully negotiate rather than something automatically granted. If you were raised in a culture that valued collectivism over individualism, you learned that your needs were secondary to the group's needs, that standing out was shameful, that humility meant making yourself smaller, that respect came from deference, from knowing your place, from never drawing attention to yourself. All of these messages, layered over years and decades, created a complex set of instructions in your psyche. You are too much and not enough. You need to perform constantly, but never look like you are performing. You need to earn respect through achievement, but appear effortlessly confident. You need to take up space, but not in a way that makes anyone uncomfortable. It is an impossible standard, and you have been trying to meet it anyway. Because here is what happens when you absorb all of this. Your sense of self becomes externalized. Your internal reference point, the felt sense of who you are, what you want, what feels true, gets replaced by an external one. You stop asking, what do I actually want? You start asking, what do they want from me? You stop checking in with your body your instincts, your intuition. You start checking in with their faces, their reactions, their approval or disapproval. Your nervous system learns to prioritize their state over yours. Your sense of safety becomes dependent on their validation. And this is where the performance begins. Because if your worth is external, if your safety depends on others' approval, then of course you will try to control how they see you. Of course you will monitor and adjust and perfect your presentation. Of course you will exhaust yourself, trying to be the right version of yourself in every context. This is not weakness. This is not failure. This is adaptation. This is your brilliant, resilient nervous system doing exactly what it was designed to do. Keep you safe in the environment you were given. The problem is not that you learned these patterns. The problem is that you are still running them in a life where they no longer serve you. You are no longer a child dependent on adults' approval for survival. You are no longer in relationships where you must earn the right to belong. You are no longer in the environments that required you to perform or perish. But your nervous system doesn't know that. It is still operating from the old wiring, still scanning for threats that no longer exist, still solving problems that are no longer real. And until you update the system, until you give your brain new information about what safety actually looks like now, you will keep performing. You will keep seeking. You will keep exhausting yourself, trying to earn something that was always yours by birthright. Here is the truth that changes everything. You do not need to earn respect. You do not need to prove your worth. You do not need to perform to deserve space. Your value is inherent. It is not conditional on what you achieve, how you present, whether others recognize it or not. But believing this intellectually is not enough. Your nervous system will not be convinced by ideas. It needs experience. It needs to feel what it is like to exist without performing, to be seen without seeking, to take up space without justification. It needs new data to overwrite the old programming. And that is what comes next. Not more effort, not more trying, but a different kind of work. The work of coming home to yourself, of reclaiming your center, of teaching your body that it is safe to stop performing, that you are enough exactly as you are, that respect is not something you earn, but something you allow by simply being fully, unapologetically present. The architecture of invisibility was built piece by piece, over years by forces largely outside your control, but it can be dismantled, not by force, not by willpower, but by awareness, by practice, by slowly, patiently teaching your system a new way of being in the world, a way where your worth is not negotiable, where your presence is not conditional, where respect flows naturally from the simple fact of your existence, grounded and whole, and undeniably here. Now that you understand how the pattern was built, you need a map for how to dismantle it. You need to know where you are going, and what the journey between those 2 points actually looks like. This is not a binary shift. You do not wake up one day transformed from invisible to magnetic, from performer to presence. This is a progression through distinct stages, each with its own challenges, its own lessons, its own quality of being. And understanding these stages will help you recognize your growth even when it feels invisible, even when you slip backward, even when the old patterns resurface and you wonder if anything has changed at all. Think of these as levels of mastery, not levels of worth. Your worth never changes, but levels of embodiment, of how deeply you have integrated quiet authority into your nervous system, into your default way of being in the world. Level 1 is the performer. This is where you have been living. This is the constant doing, the endless adjustment, the measuring of your value by how others respond to you. At this level, you are entirely externally referenced. Your sense of self shifts with every interaction. If someone praises you, you feel solid for a moment. If someone dismisses you, you crumble inside. If a conversation goes well, you are competent. If it goes poorly, you are fundamentally flawed. In your body, this level feels like chronic tension. Your shoulders are up near your ears. Your jaw is tight. Your breath is shallow, trapped high in your chest, never reaching your belly. Your heart rate is elevated, not dramatically, but constantly, a low-grade stress that never fully releases. Your hands might clench without you realizing it. Your stomach might feel unsettled, that nervous flutter that lives there so often you have stopped noticing it. Your attention is scattered outward in 1,000 directions. You are watching their face while you talk, monitoring for micro-expressions of boredom or judgment. You are listening to your own words as they come out, critiquing them in real time, already regretting what you said 3 sentences ago. You are aware of your posture, your tone, whether you are smiling enough, whether you look confident or desperate or weird. You are everywhere except here, everywhere except in yourself. At this level, silence feels like failure. Empty space in conversation feels like something you did wrong, something you need to fix immediately. So you fill it. You ask questions you do not care about. You laugh at things that are not funny. You perform interest, perform engagement, perform the version of yourself you think they want to see. And when you finish an interaction, you replay it obsessively. You catalogue your mistakes. You rehearse what you should have said. You imagine their judgment, their dismissal, their secret belief that you are not worth their time. The performance does not end when you leave the room. It continues in your mind, over and over, exhausting you even in solitude. This is level 1. And if you are here, you are not broken. You are not failing. You are simply operating from the wiring you were given, the survival strategy that once kept you safe. But you are reading this because you know, at some level, that this way of being is no longer serving you, that the exhaustion has become unbearable, that you are ready for something different. Level 2 is the observer. This is the first awakening. This is where you begin to notice the pattern while it is happening. You are in a meeting, and mid-sentence, you hear yourself over-explaining. You feel the familiar tightness in your chest, and for the first time, you notice it. You see yourself performing. You catch the mechanism in action. This awareness doesn't stop the pattern, not at first. You still finish the explanation. You still laugh nervously. You still fill the silence. But there is a small gap now between the stimulus and the response. A tiny space where you see what you are doing, even if you cannot yet do differently. In your body, this level feels uncomfortable, because you are becoming conscious of tension you have been carrying for so long it felt normal. You notice your shallow breathing and realize you have been breathing this way for years. You notice your clenched jaw and feel how much energy it takes to hold it that way. The awareness itself creates discomfort, because you cannot unknow what you now know. And there is an urge, a powerful urge, to return to unconsciousness, to stop noticing, to go back to the familiar numbness of performance without awareness, because awareness without the ability to change feels like torture. You see yourself seeking approval, accommodating, diminishing, and you cannot yet stop, and the seeing makes it worse. But stay here. This discomfort is growth. This is your nervous system beginning to wake up, to recognize that there are other options, other ways of being. At this level, you start to create small experiments. Maybe you let a silence sit for 3 seconds before filling it. Maybe you notice the urge to over-explain and stop yourself mid-sentence. Maybe you catch yourself about to say yes when you mean no, and you pause, even if you still end up saying yes. These are small moments. They feel insignificant, but they are rewiring your brain. They are teaching your system that you can observe the pattern without being consumed by it, that there is a you beneath the performance, a you who can watch, who can choose, who can begin to practice something different. At a level 2, you will still slip back to level 1 constantly. You will have moments of awareness followed by hours of unconscious performance. This is normal. This is how change happens. You are building new neural pathways while the old ones are still deeply grooved, still automatic, still pulling you back. Be patient. The observer is not a permanent state, but a capacity you are strengthening, a muscle that grows with practice. Level 3 is the anchor. This is where you develop an internal reference point, a core that does not shift with every social wind. At this level, you begin to feel your body not as a performance vehicle, but as a source of information, of groundedness, of home. You learn to drop your attention into your center, your belly, your hips, the base of your spine, and feel yourself from the inside rather than imagining how you look from the outside. You learn to breathe deeply, not as a calming technique, but as a return to your natural state. You learn to feel your feet on the ground, your weight in the chair, the simple physical fact of your existence taking up space. This gives you stability. When someone challenges you, you feel the familiar urge to defend, to explain, to prove. But now you have an anchor. You can feel your body. You can take a breath. You can hold your position without reactivity, without collapse, without the desperate need to make them understand. At this level, silence becomes bearable. Not comfortable, not yet, but bearable. You can let a pause exist for 5 seconds, 10 seconds, without panic. You can sit with the discomfort of empty space without rushing to fill it. You notice the urge. You feel it in your body, but you do not obey it automatically. You begin to speak from a different place, not from your racing thoughts, not from your need to impress, but from something deeper. You take a breath. You feel your ground. You speak only when you have something to say, and you say it simply, without the cushioning of over-explanation, without the apologetic tone that undermines your own words. People notice. They might not be able to name what is different, but they feel it. You seem calmer, more solid. Your words carry more weight because you are not throwing them out desperately, hoping something sticks. You are placing them intentionally, from center, from a place of knowing rather than seeking. At this level, you can hold your boundaries without aggression or apology. Someone asks you to do something that does not work for you, and instead of immediately accommodating or explaining in detail why you cannot, you simply say, "That does not work for me." And then you stop talking. You let the statement stand. You hold your ground while their discomfort moves through the space, and you do not rush to fix it. This feels terrifying at first. Every cell in your body screams to soften it, to apologize, to over-explain, to make them feel better about your no. But you breathe, you feel your anchor, and you let the silence hold. And here is what you discover. Most people accept it. They might push back once, but when they feel that you are solid, that your no is not negotiable, they adjust. And the ones who do not accept it, the ones who need you to be accommodating, to feel comfortable, you begin to see them clearly. You begin to understand that their discomfort with your groundedness is information about them, not about you. Level 3 is not permanent either. You will still have days where you slip back to performance, where someone's disapproval triggers the old pattern, and you find yourself seeking and explaining and abandoning your center. But now you notice it faster. You return to your anchor more quickly, and each time you return, the anchor gets stronger, more familiar, more available. Level 4 is the presence. This is full embodiment. This is quiet authority as your default state, not something you access occasionally, but something you are. At this level, you no longer think about being grounded. You simply are grounded. Your center is not something you have to find. It is where you live. Your body is relaxed but alert, settled but responsive. Your breath moves naturally, deeply, without effort. Your presence fills the space you occupy, not through force or performance, but through simple, complete inhabitation of yourself. You are entirely here, not scattered into the past or future, not fragmented across a dozen worries about how you appear. Just here, fully, undeniably. At this level, your stillness creates gravity. People are drawn to you without knowing why. When you enter a room, something shifts. Not because you announced yourself, not because you performed confidence, but because your nervous system is calm, and humans are wired to move toward calm, to seek it, to trust it. Your silence holds weight. When you choose not to speak, it is a choice, not a failure. And people feel the difference. The space you create with your silence invites others to go deeper, to slow down, to say what they actually mean instead of filling air with noise. And when you do speak, people listen, not because you spoke louder or more cleverly or with more authority in your tone, but because you spoke from truth, from center, from a place beyond performance. Your words are not trying to convince or impress or prove. They are simply offering what is real for you. And realness in a world of performance is magnetic. At level 4, respect is not something you think about. It is not something you seek or earn. It simply exists as the natural response to your presence. People defer to you without you asking. They value your opinion without you having to prove its worth. They feel safe around you because your nervous system signals safety. You are not in threat. You are not seeking anything from them. You are simply, powerfully here. But understand this. Level 4 is not a destination you arrive at and stay forever. Mastery is not about perfection. It is about depth. You will still encounter situations that trigger old patterns that pull you back toward performance. The difference is that you return to presence faster. The slips become shorter, less intense, less consuming. And here is the paradox. The progression through these levels is not linear. It is a spiral. You do not move from 1 to 2 to 3 to 4 in a straight line and never look back. You cycle through them at different levels of depth. You might be at level 3 in your professional life, but slip to level 1 in intimate relationships. You might embody level 4 in familiar settings, but drop to level 2 when you enter new social territory. This is not failure. This is the nature of growth. Each time you cycle back, you do so with more awareness, more capacity, more ability to recognize the pattern and choose differently. The spiral deepens, the center holds, and eventually the time you spend in presence outweighs the time you spend in performance. Eventually, groundedness becomes your baseline, and performance becomes the exception. Eventually, you are simply who you are, unapologetically, unshakably, and respect flows to you like water finding level. This is the map. Now we build the practice. The map is useful, but maps do not move you. Practice does. And everything that follows, all the layers, all the refinement, all the transformation, rests on one foundational technique. Master this, and everything else becomes possible. Skip this, and nothing else will hold. This is called somatic anchoring, and it is deceptively simple. Somatic means of the body. Anchoring means creating a fixed point, a ground, a place to return to when everything else is chaos. Somatic anchoring is the practice of making your body, not your thoughts, not others' reactions, not your performance, your primary reference point. It is the practice of coming home to yourself again and again until home becomes your default state. Here is how it works. Right now, as you listen to these words, bring your attention to your body. Not the idea of your body, not how your body looks, but the felt sense of your body from the inside. Notice where you are sitting or standing. Feel the contact points, your feet on the floor, your body on the chair, the places where you meet the world. Now drop your attention lower, below your chest, below your racing thoughts, below the tightness in your throat. Drop your attention to the base of your spine, to your pelvis, to your hips. This is your center. This is your anchor. Feel the weight of your body settling into this center. Feel gravity pulling you down, connecting you to the ground beneath you. You do not have to do anything. Just notice. Just feel. Now bring your attention to your breath. Notice where it lives. If you are like most people who live in chronic performance, your breath is high and shallow, trapped in your chest, maybe even in your throat. This is the breath of anxiety, of vigilance, of a nervous system on alert. Let it drop. Breathe into your belly. Let your inhale expand your abdomen. Let it fill the space below your ribs. Let your exhale release fully, emptying completely before the next breath comes. Do not force it. Just allow it. Let your body remember how to breathe the way it did before the world taught you to brace against it. Now notice your shoulders. They are probably up near your ears, holding tension you do not even feel anymore, because it has become your baseline. Let them drop. Physically drop them. Feel the weight of your arms hanging from your shoulder joints. Feel the release. And your jaw. Unclench it. You might not have realized it was clenched. Let your teeth separate slightly. Let your tongue rest soft in your mouth. Feel the muscles in your face soften. This is your anchor. Base of spine. Belly breath. Dropped shoulders. Soft jaw. This is the physical state of presence. This is what groundedness feels like in the body. And here is the practice. Return to this again and again, in every moment when you feel yourself fragmenting, when you feel the pull toward performance, when your attention scatters outward, seeking approval or avoiding rejection. Return to your body. Return to your center. Return to your anchor. This is not a meditation practice you do for 20 minutes in the morning and then forget. This is a moment-to-moment practice. This is the tool you use in real time, in the middle of the meeting, in the middle of the difficult conversation, in the middle of the social situation where every instinct screams at you to perform. And the specific application is what I call the 5-second reset. When you feel social pressure, when someone challenges you, when silence hangs awkwardly, when you are interrupted, when you sense disapproval, your nervous system will spike into threat. You will feel the familiar surge, the tightness, the racing thoughts, the urge to fix it, to explain, to accommodate, to perform your way back to safety. In that moment, you pause. You do not react. You do not speak. You do not move. You pause for 5 full seconds. 5 seconds is longer than you think. Count it now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. In conversation, 5 seconds feels like an eternity. Your nervous system will scream at you to fill it, to do something, to stop the discomfort. Do not obey. Instead, in those 5 seconds, do this. Drop your attention into your body. Feel the base of your spine. Feel your feet on the ground or your seat beneath you. Take 1 full breath into your belly. Let your shoulders drop. Soften your jaw. And then, only then, respond. Speak or act only from that centered place. Not from the panic. Not from the urge to perform. From your anchor. Let me show you what this looks like in practice. You are in a meeting. You share an idea. Someone across the table immediately challenges it, their tone sharp, dismissive. I do not think that will work. We tried something similar last year, and it failed. Your old pattern, immediate defense. You feel the heat rise in your face. Your heart rate spikes. You start talking fast, explaining why your idea is different, justifying your thinking, trying to prove you are not stupid for suggesting it. Your voice gets higher. Your words tumble over each other. You can hear yourself sounding desperate, but you cannot stop. The new pattern. You feel the challenge land. You notice the spike of adrenaline, the urge to defend, and instead of obeying it, you pause. 5 seconds. You feel your seat beneath you. You take 1 deep breath into your belly. You let your shoulders drop. And then, from that grounded place, you respond. Your voice is calm. Your pace is slow. You say, "Tell me more about what happened last year. I am curious what the difference might be." Or maybe you say, "I hear your concern. Let me think about that." Or maybe you say nothing at all. You simply hold their gaze, relaxed, and let their challenge sit in the space without needing to counter it immediately. Notice what happens energetically. When you defend from panic, you signal that you are unsure, that your idea is fragile, that you need their approval. When you respond from groundedness, you signal something entirely different. I am not threatened by your challenge. I am solid in myself. I can hold space for disagreement without collapsing. And people feel this. Their unconscious reads your nervous system state and adjusts accordingly. They take you more seriously. They respect the idea more. Not because you argued better, because you did not need to argue at all. Here is another scenario. You are at a dinner party. You have just finished speaking. There is a pause. No one responds immediately. The silence stretches. 3 seconds. 4 seconds. 5 seconds. Your old pattern. Panic. The silence means you said something wrong, something boring, something that killed the conversation. You scramble to fill the space. You laugh nervously. You ask a question. You make a self-deprecating joke, anything to end the discomfort. The new pattern, you notice the silence. You feel the urge to fill it. And instead, you pause. You feel your body. You breathe. You let the silence be. And here is what you discover. Silence is not failure. Silence is often people processing, thinking, absorbing. If you give them space instead of rushing to fill it, they often come back with something deeper, something more real than the surface-level banter that usually dominates. Or maybe they do not. Maybe the conversation moves on. And that is fine too, because you did not abandon yourself to manage their comfort. You held your ground. And that matters more than whether the moment was smooth. One more. You are speaking, and someone interrupts you. They start talking over you, taking the conversation in a different direction. Your words evaporate mid-sentence. Your old pattern. You stop talking. Immediately. You shrink. You tell yourself your point was not important anyway. Or maybe you try to keep talking, your voice getting louder, competing for airspace. But it feels aggressive and uncomfortable, and you stop anyway, resentful and diminished. The new pattern. You pause. 5 seconds. You feel your anchor. And then you make a choice. Either you calmly reclaim your space. I was not finished. Your voice steady. Not angry, just clear. Or you let it go, consciously, without resentment. You recognize that finishing your sentence is not actually important right now, and you release it without making it mean something about your worth. Both responses come from center. Both are powerful. The key is that you choose rather than react. You are not swept away by their interruption. You hold your ground and decide what serves the moment. This is the practice. This is the core, and it rewires everything. Here is why. Your brain learns through experience, not through ideas. You can tell yourself 1,000 times that you are worthy of respect. But if your nervous system is in a state of threat every time you interact with others, your brain will not believe you. It will keep running the old program. Perform to survive. But when you practice the 5-second reset, when you train yourself to return to your body in moments of pressure, you give your brain new data. You show it through direct experience that you can be challenged and not collapse, that you can sit in silence and not panic, that you can be interrupted and not dissolve. And each time you do this, you strengthen the neural pathway that says, I am safe in my own presence. I do not need external validation to be okay. I can hold my ground. Over time, and it does not take as long as you think, this becomes automatic. The pause becomes instinctive. Your body drops into anchor without you consciously choosing it. The groundedness that once required deliberate effort becomes your baseline. And this creates what others perceive as authority. Because here is what is happening beneath the surface. Humans are social animals with nervous systems designed to read each other constantly. We have mirror neurons that unconsciously match the state of people around us. When you are in a state of anxious performance, others feel that anxiety. Their nervous systems pick up the signal. This person is in threat. And threat is not attractive. Threat does not command respect. But when you are grounded, when your nervous system is in a state of calm presence, others feel that too. Their mirror neurons register. This person is safe. This person is certain. This person is not seeking anything from me. And that creates a kind of magnetic pull. People want to be near calm. They trust it. They respect it. You are not performing confidence. You are not faking authority. You are simply inhabiting your body fully, and that full inhabitation creates an energetic field that others respond to unconsciously. This is not mystical. This is biology. This is the way mammals assess each other, the way we determine hierarchy and safety and trustworthiness in milliseconds before conscious thought even begins. And you can train this. You can make your default state one that naturally commands respect, not through what you say or how you look, but through the quality of your presence. Start now, not later. now. As you listen to these words, drop into your anchor. Feel the base of your spine. Breathe into your belly. Drop your shoulders. Soften your jaw and commit to the practice. Every time you feel the pull toward performance today, in conversation, in email, in the meeting, in the difficult phone call, pause. 5 seconds. Anchor. Then respond. Do this 10 times today. Then 20 tomorrow. Then so many times you stop counting. Make it your automatic response to pressure. Pause, ground, act. This is not one tool among many. This is the foundation. Everything else we build will rest on this. Master this, and the rest becomes inevitable. Your body knows how to be present. It has just forgotten because the world taught you to abandon it. Now you are teaching it to come home. And home is where your power lives. The anchor is your foundation. But a foundation alone does not create a building. Now you add layers, each one building on the last, each one deepening your capacity for presence, expanding the ways your body communicates authority without words. These are not separate techniques to master in isolation. They are interwoven practices that reinforce each other, that compound over time, that transform the way you move through the world. Learn them individually. Practice them together. Watch them become second nature. Conscious eye contact is where many people falter without knowing it. Your eyes either give too much or too little. You look away too quickly, signaling submission, uncertainty, a desire to disappear, or you stare too hard, trying to perform confidence, creating tension instead of connection. The practice is neither. It is the steady, relaxed gaze that says, I see you, and I am not threatened by you. I am here, fully present, and I can hold this connection without discomfort. Here is how you develop it. When someone is speaking to you, let your gaze rest softly on their face, not locked onto their eyes like you are trying to win a staring contest, not darting around nervously, just softly present. You can let your gaze move naturally, to their eyes, to their mouth as they speak, back to their eyes, but the quality is relaxed, open, undefended. And when you speak, resist the urge to look away. This is where most people break contact, right when they are sharing something vulnerable, right when they need to be seen. They look up, look down, look to the side, anywhere but at the person they are speaking to. This fragments your power. It signals that you do not believe what you are saying, that you are uncomfortable being witnessed. Instead, hold the gaze, not aggressively, just steadily. Speak while looking at them. Let them see you. This creates intimacy and authority simultaneously. It says, I am not hiding. I am not performing. This is real, and I can let you witness it. Practice this in low-stakes situations first. The barista taking your order, the colleague in the hallway. Small moments where you can train yourself to stay present in eye contact without the high pressure of important conversations. Notice when you want to look away. Feel the discomfort. Stay anyway. Breathe. Anchor. Hold. Over time, this becomes natural. Your nervous system learns that being seen is safe. And paradoxically, the more comfortable you become being seen, the less you need to be seen. The desperate quality dissolves. What remains is simple, powerful presence. Strategic silence is the art of knowing when not to speak. In a world addicted to noise, to constant input, to filling every space with sound, your silence becomes remarkable. But only if it comes from choice, not fear. The practice. Before you speak, ask yourself, does this need to be said? Does it need to be said by me? Does it need to be said now? If the answer to any of these is no, Stay silent. This is not passivity. This is discernment. You are not hiding. You are observing. You are letting the conversation unfold, watching the dynamics, understanding the room before you contribute. And when you do speak, your words carry weight because they are rare, because they come from observation, because you have not wasted your voice on noise. Learn to let others fill space. In meetings, in social situations, let there be pauses. Let other people rush to fill the silence. Watch what they reveal when they are uncomfortable with quiet. You learn more by listening than you ever will by talking. And when someone asks you a question, especially a challenging one, do not rush to answer. Pause. 3 seconds. 5 seconds. Let the question sit. Let them see you thinking, considering, taking their question seriously enough to give it real thought. Then answer from that considered place. This is powerful because it is rare. Most people react immediately, filling space, performing responsiveness. Your willingness to pause signals that you are not reactive, that you are not controlled by social pressure, that you operate from a different center. Energy management is subtle but transformative. Your energy, your attention, your aliveness, your presence flows somewhere. And most people in performance mode send their energy outward, toward others, seeking approval, monitoring reactions, trying to manage perceptions. The practice. Notice where your energy is going. In conversation, is your attention on them? What they think of you, whether they approve, how to make them like you? Or is it in you, grounded in your body, aware of your own state, present to yourself while also present to them? When you catch yourself sending energy outward in seeking, consciously draw it back. Feel it return to your center. Imagine pulling your attention back into your body, into your belly, into your anchor. This is not withdrawal. You are still engaged, still listening, still present. But you are present from your center, not scattered outside yourself. This shift changes everything energetically. When your energy is in you, grounded, people feel it. They stop experiencing you as someone who needs something from them. They start experiencing you as someone who is whole, complete, not seeking. And this wholeness is magnetic. Practice this, especially in moments when you want approval desperately. When you are talking to someone you admire, someone whose validation you crave, notice the outward pull of your energy. Feel how you are giving your power away, leaning toward them energetically, hoping they will fill you with their approval. And instead, consciously pull back. Ground. Let your energy stay in you. Speak to them as an equal, not as a supplicant. Vocal grounding changes how your voice lands. Most people in performance mode speak from their throat. Their voice is high, tight, sometimes breathy or thin. This is the voice of nervousness, of a constricted nervous system, of someone not fully inhabiting their body. The practice. Speak from your diaphragm, from your belly, from the same place you have learned to breathe. Let your voice come from depth, not from your throat. This naturally lowers your pitch slightly, adds resonance, creates a voice that sounds calm and certain, even when you do not feel calm and certain. Slow your cadence. Most people rush when they are nervous, words tumbling out too fast, trying to get everything said before they are interrupted or before the other person loses interest. This signals anxiety. Instead, speak slower than feels natural. Leave pauses between thoughts. Let your words land before you move to the next sentence. This is counterintuitive. It feels like slowing down will make you boring, will lose their attention. But the opposite is true. When you speak slowly, with pauses, with intention, people lean in. They listen more carefully. They sense that what you are saying matters because you are not rushing through it. Practice by recording yourself. Listen to your voice. Notice the pace, the pitch, the places where you rush. Then practice speaking the same content slower, from a deeper place in your body, with deliberate pauses. It will feel strange at first, too slow, too dramatic, but to listeners it sounds grounded, authoritative, worth paying attention to. Postural integrity is about how you occupy physical space, not the forced posture of standing at attention, shoulders back in that rigid military stance, but the natural expansion of a body at ease, taking up its full space without apology. The practice. Stand or sit as if there is a string gently lifting the crown of your head toward the ceiling. Your spine lengthens. Your chest opens naturally, not puffed out, but simply not collapsed. Your shoulders are back and down, relaxed, not pulled back in tension. Your feet are firmly planted, weight distributed evenly. This is not about looking confident. This is about inhabiting your full physical presence. Most people make themselves smaller, shoulders rolled forward, chest caved, head down, trying to take up as little space as possible. This is the posture of apology, of trying not to be a burden, of hoping not to be noticed. Instead, take up space. Not aggressively, not with the spread leg dominance posturing that some people mistake for authority, but fully. Your body has a certain amount of space it naturally occupies. Occupy it. Do not compress yourself to make others comfortable. In meetings, do not hunch over the table. Sit back. Let your arms rest openly rather than crossed over your chest. In conversations, stand with your weight evenly distributed rather than shifting nervously. In social situations, resist the urge to make yourself smaller, to tuck your arms in, to curve your spine. This feels vulnerable at first. Taking up space feels like inviting judgment, like making yourself a target. But your nervous system learns through repetition. The more you practice open, relaxed posture, the more your body internalizes. I am safe taking up space. I am allowed to be here fully. Emotional transparency is perhaps the most counterintuitive practice. You have spent years learning to hide discomfort, to mask disagreement, to perform pleasantness even when you feel something entirely different. This fractures your integrity. People sense the incongruence between what you feel and what you show, and it undermines trust. The practice: reveal what you feel without performing it. This is not about emotional dumping or making others responsible for your feelings. This is about simple honesty. If you are uncomfortable, say, "I am noticing I feel uncomfortable right now." If you disagree, say, "I see that differently." If you need time to think, say, "I need a moment to consider this." If something does not work for you, say, "That does not work for me." No apology, no over-explanation, no cushioning it with qualifiers and softeners to make it more palatable. Just the simple truth, stated calmly, from your anchor. This feels dangerous. You have been trained to believe that revealing discomfort or disagreement will create conflict, will make people dislike you, will threaten connection. But the opposite is true. Emotional transparency creates respect. It signals that you trust yourself enough to be real, that you do not need to manage their perception of you, that you are solid enough to let them see you as you actually are. And people respond to this with relief, because they are exhausted from performance too. Your willingness to be real gives them permission to be real. Your transparency creates depth where there was only surface. Practice this in small doses. The next time someone asks, "How are you?" and you are not fine, do not say, "Fine." Say, "I am tired," or "I am frustrated," or whatever is true. Notice their response. Most people will appreciate the honesty, will meet you there, will drop their own performance a little. These tools, conscious eye contact, strategic silence, energy management, vocal grounding, postural integrity, emotional transparency, are not separate skills to master independently. They weave together. They reinforce each other. They create a comprehensive system of embodied authority. When you hold eye contact from a grounded place, your silence has more weight. When you manage your energy and keep it centered, your voice naturally deepens. When your posture is open and relaxed, emotional transparency feels safer. When you speak slowly with pauses, people lean into your strategic silence. Each practice strengthens the others, and together they transform the way you exist in the world. You stop performing confidence. You embody presence. You stop seeking respect. You command it, quietly, without effort, simply by being fully, unapologetically yourself. You have the tools. You know the practices. But tools alone will not sustain transformation. You need infrastructure. You need a life designed to support presence rather than constantly pulling you back toward performance. This is the difference between temporary change and lasting evolution. Willpower fails. Environment prevails. And if you try to maintain quiet authority through sheer effort while living in conditions that demand constant performance, you will exhaust yourself and eventually collapse back into old patterns. So now you build the container, the architecture of a life that makes presence natural, inevitable, your default rather than your exception. Environmental design starts with the people you surround yourself with. Look honestly at your relationships, your social circles, your professional networks. Which people respect quiet strength? Which ones only value performance, loudness, constant output? Which relationships allow you to be grounded, and which ones require you to fragment yourself to maintain connection? This is not about cutting everyone off or becoming isolated. This is about becoming intentional. You might not be able to remove yourself entirely from performance-demanding environments. You have a job, family obligations, social structures you cannot simply abandon. But you can reduce your exposure. You can create boundaries. You can stop volunteering for spaces that drain you. And you can actively seek and cultivate relationships with people who value what you are becoming. People who are comfortable with silence. People who do not need you to entertain them or constantly prove your worth. People who meet your groundedness with their own, who appreciate depth over surface, who create space for realness. Notice who you feel most yourself around. Who allows you to drop the performance without even trying? Spend more time with those people. Let those relationships deepen. And notice who triggers your performance patterns relentlessly. Who needs you to be smaller, more accommodating, more reactive. Spend less time there. Not with judgment, not with resentment, just with clarity about what serves your growth. Your physical environment matters too. Create spaces that support centeredness. If you work from home, design your workspace to feel grounded, minimal clutter, natural elements, a chair that lets you sit with good posture. If you commute, build in transition time where you can arrive and leave from center rather than rushing from one demand to the next in a state of chronic activation. Remove yourself, when possible, from environments designed to keep you in performance mode. The social media platforms that reward constant output and comparison, the networking events that feel like performance competitions, the communities where loudness equals value and quiet strength is invisible. You do not have to abandon these entirely, but you can be deliberate. You can limit exposure. You can engage on your terms rather than letting these environments dictate your state. Daily anchoring rituals create bookends for your day, moments where you establish and return to center, insulating yourself from the constant pull of reactivity. Your morning practice is non-negotiable. Before you check your phone, before you engage with anyone else's needs or demands, you establish your anchor. This might be 10 minutes, it might be 30, but it is yours. This could be meditation, sitting in silence, returning your attention to your breath, to your body, practicing the somatic anchoring you have learned. It could be journaling, writing without filter, clearing your mind, setting intentions for how you want to show up today. It could be movement that connects you to your body, yoga, walking, stretching, anything that gets you out of your head and into sensation. The specific practice matters less than the consistency. You are training your nervous system. Before I meet the world, I meet myself. Before I respond to external demands, I establish my internal ground. Before I give my energy away, I fill my own container. And here is what happens. When you start your day from center, you have reserves. When challenges arise, when someone triggers your performance patterns, you have a baseline to return to. You are not starting from empty, from fragmented, from already depleted. Your evening practice is equally important. This is where you clear the accumulation of the day, the social residue, the tension you absorbed, the moments when you slipped into performance and could not return. This might be a body scan before bed, consciously releasing the tension you are holding. It might be shaking or stretching, moving the stuck energy out of your system. It might be writing about the moments that challenged you, reflecting without judgment, learning from the patterns. The purpose is not perfection. The purpose is completion. You are signaling to your nervous system, the day is done. I release what I carried. I do not take it into sleep with me. I clear the slate so I can begin again tomorrow from neutral. Boundary systems are the non-negotiable structures that protect your energy. Without boundaries, you leak. You give yourself away. You accommodate until there is nothing left of you to give. The practice of boundaries starts with saying no without over-explanation. Someone asks you to do something that does not align with your values, your capacity, or your priorities. Your old pattern is to explain in detail why you cannot, to soften the no with apologies and justifications to make them feel better about your refusal. The new pattern: I cannot do that. Or, that does not work for me. Full stop. No explanation required. No apology necessary. This feels harsh at first. It feels rude, but it is not. It is honest. And honesty delivered calmly, from center, without defense, is respectful. You are respecting both yourself and them by not wasting their time with false possibilities or your time with obligations you cannot genuinely meet. Boundaries also mean ending conversations that drain you. Not every conversation deserves your full presence. Some people use conversation to dump, to complain endlessly without seeking solutions, to demand your emotional labor without reciprocity. You do not owe them unlimited access. You can say, I need to go now. You can say, I do not have capacity for this conversation right now. You can simply stop responding, stop engaging, Stop making yourself available to dynamics that deplete you. And boundaries mean declining invitations that do not align. Not every social gathering, every networking event, every opportunity deserves your yes. Most do not. You can decline without guilt. You can protect your energy, your time, your nervous system's capacity for presence. The people who respect your boundaries will adjust. They will value you more, not less, because you value yourself. The people who cannot respect your boundaries are showing you who they are. Believe them. Distance accordingly. Recovery protocols acknowledge that you will slip. You will have days, moments, entire conversations where you fall back into performance, where you lose your anchor, where you accommodate, seek approval, fragment yourself in all the old familiar ways. This is not failure. This is being human. The question is not whether you will slip, but what you do after. The old pattern, self-criticism, shame. The internal monologue that says you are hopeless, that you will never change, that you are fundamentally broken. This compounds the problem. It keeps you stuck in the very pattern you are trying to shift. The new pattern, self-compassion. You notice you slipped. You acknowledge it without judgment. You say to yourself, I reverted to an old pattern. This makes sense. I was triggered. My nervous system went into protection mode. This is information, not evidence of failure. Then you engage in somatic release. You do not try to think your way out. You move the energy. You shake it out, literally. Stand and shake your body. Let the tension release physically. You stretch. You breathe deeply. You place your hands on your heart and feel your own presence, your own care for yourself. And you reflect. What triggered the pattern? What was the specific moment you lost your anchor? Was it a particular person, a specific type of situation, a familiar dynamic? You are not analyzing to judge. You are analyzing to learn, to recognize the pattern so you can catch it earlier next time. This is how growth actually happens, not through never slipping, but through slipping and returning faster each time. Through meeting yourself with compassion rather than criticism. Through learning from the pattern rather than shaming yourself for it. Community and modeling provide external support for internal transformation. You cannot do this alone. You need mirrors. You need examples. You need people who are further along the path to show you what is possible, and people who are where you are to remind you that you are not alone. Find or create circles where quiet authority is valued. This might be a meditation group, a men's or women's circle, a professional community that prioritizes depth over performance. This might be online or in person. But it needs to exist, a space where you can show up as you are, where presence is recognized, where you do not have to perform. Study people who embody quiet authority. Not to copy them, but to observe. How do they move? How do they speak? What is the quality of their presence? You can find these people in your life, colleagues, mentors, friends, or you can study them from a distance through interviews, writings, videos. Let their embodiment inform yours, and as you develop your own mastery, mentor others, teach what you are learning, share the practices, guide people who are where you were. This deepens your own understanding. It solidifies the transformation. It creates accountability and meaning beyond your individual growth. The infrastructure matters more than the moments. You can have perfect technique, master every practice, know exactly what to do in the moment of pressure. But if you are living in an environment that constantly demands performance, if you are surrounded by people who do not value quiet strength, if you have no daily practices to establish and return to center, if you have no boundaries protecting your energy, if you have no recovery protocols when you slip, you will burn out. Sustainable transformation is not about willpower. It is about design. It is about building a life where presence is the path of least resistance, where the structures around you support rather than undermine your evolution. This takes time. You do not redesign your entire life overnight, but you start. You choose one environmental shift. You establish one daily ritual. You set one boundary. You practice one recovery protocol. And you build, piece by piece, the container that holds your transformation, until the container is so strong, so well designed, that quiet authority is not something you practice occasionally, but something you live constantly, until presence is not the exception, but the rule, until groundedness is not the goal, but the ground itself. You have learned the practices. You have built the infrastructure. Now you need to understand why this works, not as philosophy or metaphor, but as biology, as brain science, as mechanical, predictable processes that you can train and refine. Because when you understand the neuroscience behind quiet authority, when you see the research that proves what you are experiencing, doubt dissolves. You stop wondering if this is real. You know it is real. You understand the precise mechanisms by which your inner state creates outer respect, and that knowledge deepens your practice, strengthens your commitment, makes the transformation inevitable. Let us start with mirror neurons, discovered in the early 1990s by neuroscientists studying macaque monkeys. They found neurons that fired both when a monkey performed an action and when it observed another monkey performing the same action. The same neural circuits activated for doing and for witnessing. Humans have an even more sophisticated mirror neuron system. When you interact with another person, your brain automatically simulates their internal state. If they are anxious, your neurons fire in patterns associated with anxiety. If they are calm, your neurons fire in patterns associated with calm. This happens unconsciously, in milliseconds, before you have any conscious awareness of what you are feeling. This is why your inner state matters so profoundly. When you are grounded, when your nervous system is in a state of calm presence, the people around you unconsciously mirror that state. Their neurons fire in calm patterns. They feel centered in your presence without knowing why. They attribute this feeling to your authority, your competence, your trustworthiness. But the mechanism is simpler and deeper than any of those concepts. You are literally transmitting your nervous system state to everyone you interact with, and they are receiving it, mirroring it, responding to it. This is why performing confidence does not work. You can say the right words, strike the right poses, but if your nervous system is in a state of threat, if your breath is shallow, your muscles tense, your attention scattered, people feel that. Their mirror neurons pick up the anxiety beneath the performance, and they respond to the truth of your state, not the facade. But when you anchor, when you drop into your body, when your nervous system genuinely settles into presence, people feel that too. And they calm, they settle, they trust. Not because you convinced them, because their neurons matched yours. This brings us to polyvagal theory, developed by neuroscientist Stephen Porges. The vagus nerve is the primary nerve of your parasympathetic nervous system, and it has two distinct branches that create three fundamental states. The ventral vagal state is safety and social engagement. When your ventral vagal system is active, your face is mobile and expressive, your voice has prosody and warmth, Your body is relaxed but alert. This is the state of presence. This is what people register as trustworthy authority. You are calm, connected, capable of relationship. Your nervous system signals, I am safe, and you are safe with me. The sympathetic state is fight or flight. This is performance anxiety, the racing heart, the shallow breath, the tension. When you are in sympathetic activation, you might appear confident on the surface, but your body is broadcasting threat, and people feel it. Their own nervous systems respond to your activation with their own activation. This is why performing confidence often backfires. You are asking people to trust you, while your body is telling them you are in danger. The dorsal vagal state is freeze or shut down. This is withdrawal, collapse, the numbing that happens when threat is overwhelming. When you are in dorsal shutdown, you appear checked out, unavailable, distant. People experience you as absent, and absence cannot command respect. Quiet authority lives in the ventral vagal state, and the practices you have learned, somatic anchoring, breath work, grounding, are all techniques for activating and maintaining ventral vagal tone. You are training your nervous system to find safety in presence rather than in performance or withdrawal. And here is the crucial part. Other people's nervous systems assess your vagal state before they assess your words. In the first few milliseconds of interaction, their system is reading your system, determining, is this person in ventral vagal safety, sympathetic threat, or dorsal shutdown? And they respond accordingly. They respect the ventral. They distrust or dismiss the other two. You cannot fake ventral vagal state. You can only cultivate it. And that is exactly what you have been doing. Now consider the default mode network, a set of brain regions that activate when you are not focused on the external world. This network is responsible for self-referential thinking, the constant internal narration, the rumination, the planning, the worrying about how you appear to others. When your default mode network is overactive, you are trapped in your head. You are thinking about yourself, thinking about yourself. You are monitoring your performance in real time, creating the very self-consciousness that undermines presence. Research shows that the default mode network quiets during states of present moment awareness. When you drop your attention into your body, when you focus on sensation rather than thought, when you anchor in the here and now, this self-referential processing diminishes. The internal narrator falls silent, and what emerges is direct, unmediated presence. This is why the 5-second reset works. When you pause, drop into your body, feel your feet on the ground, you are literally deactivating the brain regions responsible for self-monitoring. You are shifting from self-referential thought to embodied awareness. And in that shift, performance becomes impossible because the part of your brain that performs has gone quiet. Status detection. Research reveals something fascinating. Humans assign status based on non-verbal cues processed by the amygdala in milliseconds before conscious thought occurs. Studies by researchers like Amy Cuddy at Harvard and Nalini Ambady at Stanford show that people make reliable judgments about competence, trustworthiness, and authority based on incredibly brief observations, sometimes as short as 1/10 of a second. And the cues they are reading are not what you might think. Not your resume, not your titles, not even your words. They are reading posture, vocal tone, movement economy, facial expression, eye contact patterns. All the non-verbal signals that reveal your nervous system state. Expanded posture signals status. Vocal depth and slowness signal authority. Stillness and economy of movement signal confidence. Steady eye contact signals certainty. And all of these emerge naturally from a grounded nervous system. You do not have to perform them. You cannot perform them convincingly if you try. They are the automatic output of presence. The amygdala makes these assessments unconsciously. The person interacting with you has no idea they are reading your posture, your breath, your micro-expressions. They just know, instantly, whether they respect you or not. And they construct a narrative to explain that feeling. You seem competent, you seem trustworthy, you seem like you know what you are doing, but the actual mechanism is simpler. Their amygdala read your body and made a decision before their cortex got involved. This is why quiet authority works. You are not trying to convince anyone's conscious mind. You are speaking directly to their unconscious threat detection and status assessment systems. And when your body signals safety and centeredness, their brain responds with respect. Neuroplasticity is what makes all of this trainable. Your brain is not fixed. Neural pathways that fire together wire together, and pathways that stop firing together eventually disconnect. Every time you practice the 5-second reset, every time you drop into your anchor, instead of reacting from performance, you are strengthening the neural pathway between stimulus and grounded response. You are building the circuitry that makes presence automatic. Initially, this requires conscious effort. You have to remember to pause. You have to deliberately feel your body. You have to override decades of conditioning. But with repetition, the new pathway becomes stronger than the old one. The pause becomes instinctive. The anchor becomes your default. And what once required effort becomes effortless. Research by neuroscientists like Richard Davidson shows that consistent practice of mindfulness and somatic awareness creates measurable changes in brain structure. The regions associated with emotional regulation grow denser. The regions associated with reactivity become less active. The nervous system's baseline shifts from vigilance to calm. This is not metaphorical change. This is physical restructuring of your brain. And it happens through practice, through repetition, through consistently choosing presence over performance until presence becomes who you are. Oxytocin and social bonding. Chemistry explains why authentic presence creates connection while performance creates distance. Oxytocin is often called the bonding hormone. It is released during genuine connection, eye contact, physical touch, authentic emotional sharing, moments of mutual vulnerability. Authentic presence triggers oxytocin release. When you are genuinely grounded, when you reveal yourself honestly without performance, when you meet someone from center rather than from seeking, their brain releases oxytocin. They feel bonded to you. They feel safe with you. They want to be near you. Performance does the opposite. When someone senses incongruence, when your words say one thing but your body says another, when you are smiling but your eyes are anxious, when you are agreeing but your energy is resistant, it triggers cortisol, the stress hormone. They feel unsafe. They pull back. They distrust you, even if they cannot articulate why. This is why emotional transparency works better than emotional performance. When you admit discomfort, when you state disagreement simply, when you let people see what you actually feel, you create the conditions for oxytocin release. You signal, I trust you enough to be real. And that trust triggers reciprocal trust, reciprocal bonding, reciprocal respect. All of this, mirror neurons, polyvagal states, default mode network, status detection, neuroplasticity, oxytocin, is not mystical. This is not about positive thinking or manifesting or any abstract concept that cannot be measured. This is biology. This is chemistry. This is the mechanical operation of human nervous systems interacting with each other, and it is entirely trainable. You can regulate your vagal tone through breath and grounding. You can quiet your default mode network through present moment awareness. You can strengthen neural pathways through consistent practice. You can trigger oxytocin release through authenticity. You can influence status detection through embodied posture and vocal tone. None of this requires you to be someone you are not. All of it requires you to be more fully who you are, to stop fragmenting yourself across performance and pretense, to gather yourself into presence, to let your nervous system settle into its natural state of calm, connected awareness. And when you do this, when you train these systems consistently, the results are predictable. People respond to you differently, not because you manipulated them, not because you performed confidence, but because their nervous systems registered yours, mirrored your calm, assessed your status through unconscious channels, and concluded, this person is safe, solid, worth respecting. This is not magic. This is mechanism. And understanding the mechanism makes the practice sustainable. Because you are not hoping it works. You know it works. You understand exactly why it works. And that knowledge carries you through the moments of doubt, the setbacks, the times when old patterns resurface, and you wonder if anything has changed. It has changed. Your brain is changing. Your nervous system is rewiring. The transformation is happening at the cellular level, in the firing of neurons, in the release of hormones, in the regulation of your vagal tone. You are not becoming someone new. You are becoming someone true. And your biology supports this becoming at every level. The science is clear, the practices are established, the infrastructure is built, but none of it matters until it is tested, until someone challenges you in front of colleagues, until crisis erupts and everyone looks to you for direction, until you are publicly humiliated or privately dismissed or pushed to abandon your center for the sake of keeping peace. This is where theory becomes practice, where knowledge becomes embodiment, where you discover whether quiet authority is real or just another idea that collapses under pressure. The truth, it will be tested. Life will find every crack, every weakness, every place where your groundedness is still fragile. And in those moments, you will have a choice. Return to performance, to seeking, to the old patterns that feel safer because they are familiar, or anchor deeper. Trust the practice, and discover that presence holds even when everything in you wants to abandon it. Conflict without defense is the first crucible. Someone challenges you. In a meeting, in a conversation, in a moment where your idea, your position, your very competence is questioned, their tone is sharp, maybe dismissive, maybe openly hostile. Every instinct screams, defend yourself, prove them wrong, explain why they are missing the point, match their energy, win the argument, or the opposite instinct, collapse, agree, accommodate, retreat to avoid the discomfort of confrontation. Neither serves you. Both abandon your center. The practice? Pause. 5 seconds. Feel your seat beneath you or your feet on the ground. Take one full breath into your belly. Let your shoulders drop. And from that anchored place, respond. Your voice is calm. Not cold, not detached, but genuinely calm. Your pace is slow. You might say, I hear your concern. Help me understand what specifically does not work for you. Or simply, I see it differently. Or even, I am willing to be wrong about this. Walk me through your thinking. Notice what happens in your body as you do this. The urge to defend will spike, then settle if you stay grounded. Your heart might race, but your breath can stay deep. The key is that you are not matching their energy. You are not escalating. You are not collapsing. You are holding your ground without rigidity, maintaining your position without aggression. This communicates something profound. I am not threatened by your challenge. I can hold space for disagreement without needing to win. I am solid enough that your disapproval does not destabilize me. And most people, when they encounter this kind of calm immovability, will adjust. They will soften. They will drop their defensiveness because yours are never engaged. Conflict requires two people in sympathetic activation. When you refuse to activate, the conflict often dissolves. Leading in crisis reveals quiet authority at its most powerful. When chaos erupts, when people panic, when the situation is urgent and unclear and everyone is looking for direction, your stillness becomes the gravitational center they orient around. This is not about having all the answers. This is about being the calm in the storm. When everyone else is in fight or flight, their prefrontal cortex offline, their thinking fragmented, you are the one who remains in ventral vagal state. You are still thinking clearly. You are still present. The practice. Ground immediately. Feel your body. Slow your breath deliberately, and speak from that place. Your voice is clear, not rushed. Your instructions are simple, direct. You might not know the full solution, but you can identify the next step. Here is what we know. Here is what we do not know. Here is what we do. First, your calm is contagious. Their mirror neurons pick up your state. The panic begins to settle. They look to you not because you are the loudest or the most forceful, but because you are the most centered. And centeredness, in crisis, is leadership. This does not mean suppressing your own fear or concern. It means holding it without being consumed by it. You can acknowledge, this is serious. I am concerned too, and we can handle it. Here is how we start. Handling disrespect tests whether your quiet authority is genuine or just politeness waiting to be violated. Someone dismisses you. They interrupt you mid-sentence. They talk over you as if you are not there. They treat your contribution as irrelevant. The old pattern? Let it go. Tell yourself it does not matter. Shrink or overreact. Get loud, get aggressive. Make a scene that undermines your credibility even as you try to reclaim it. The new pattern? Pause. Hold eye contact. Let the moment breathe. And then, calmly, without heat, without apology, I was not finished. 3 words. Delivered from anchor. Not aggressive, not defensive, just a simple statement of fact. Or if someone dismisses your idea, that does not work for me. Or, I need you to hear what I am saying. Or simply, silence. You hold their gaze. You do not fill the space. You let the weight of their disrespect sit in the room until they feel it. This is uncomfortable. Every socialized instinct tells you to smooth it over, to let it pass, to avoid the tension. But respect is not built by avoiding tension. It is built by holding your ground when tension arises. Most people are not consciously disrespectful. They are unconsciously testing. They are checking. Will this person hold their boundaries or collapse? Will they defend their space or give it away? Your calm assertion answers that question definitively. And most people, once they see you will not be moved, adjust their behavior immediately. Performance anxiety som en reducht. The high-stakes situations where the urge to perform is loudest. The presentation, the interview, the conversation with someone whose approval matters deeply. Every cell in your body wants to perform, to control how you are perceived, to get it right. The practice. Before you enter the room, ground. 5 minutes. 10 if you have it. Sit somewhere private. Feel your body. Breathe deeply. Place your hand on your belly and feel the rise and fall. Remind yourself, my value does not depend on this outcome. I am enough whether they approve or not. I am here to offer what is real, not to perform what I think they want. During the presentation, the interview, the conversation, return to anchor repeatedly. Feel your feet. Breathe. Speak from your body, not from your racing mind. If you lose your place, pause. Do not apologize. Just pause. Breathe. Find your center. Continue. Paradoxically, the less you try to control their perception, the better the outcome, because people sense the difference between someone performing and someone present. Performance creates distance. Presence creates trust. And in high-stakes moments, trust matters more than polish. Relationship pressure is perhaps the most difficult test. When people close to you, partners, family, long-time friends, push back against your evolution. They want the old you back, the one who accommodated, who bent, who made yourself smaller to keep the peace. They might not say it directly, but you feel it. The subtle disapproval when you hold a boundary, the discomfort when you stop over-functioning, the complaints that you have changed, that you are not as warm, as flexible, as easy as you used to be. This is where you must choose, alignment or harmony. Harmony is peace at the cost of your integrity. Alignment is integrity, even when it creates temporary discord. The practice, hold your boundaries with love, not with rigidity, not with anger, but with love. I understand this is uncomfortable for you, and I cannot go back to the old pattern. I am willing to work through this discomfort with you, but I am not willing to abandon myself. Some people will adjust. They will recognize that your evolution is not about them, that your boundaries actually create healthier relationship. They will do their own work and meet you in this new way of being. Some will not. Some need you to stay small so they can stay comfortable. And you will have to decide whether that relationship serves your growth or constrains it. This is painful. But choosing harmony over alignment always costs you more in the long run. Failure and humiliation will happen. You will make mistakes publicly. You will say something foolish in front of people who matter. You will have moments where your quiet authority fails and you revert to performance or collapse, or some embarrassing hybrid of both. The practice is the same. Ground. Breathe. Acknowledge simply. I made a mistake there. Or, that did not come out the way I intended. Or even, I am off my center right now. Give me a moment. No self-flagellation. No apologizing excessively. No making it bigger than it is. Just a simple acknowledgement, a breath, and moving forward from center. What people respect is not perfection. It is recovery. It is the ability to stumble and regain your footing without falling apart. It is the willingness to be human, to make mistakes, and to continue with dignity intact. And here is what you will discover. When you meet your failures with self-compassion and groundedness, when you do not collapse into shame or defend with excuses, people respect you more, not less, because you have demonstrated something rare, the capacity to be fallible without being fragile. Mastery is not the absence of challenge, it is presence within challenge. It is not never being triggered. It is returning to center faster when you are triggered. It is not never slipping into old patterns. It is catching yourself mid-pattern and choosing differently. Every test is an opportunity. Every moment of pressure is a chance to deepen the practice. Every challenge is the fire that forges quiet authority from concept into reality. You will be tested, repeatedly, in ways you expect and ways you do not, and each time you have the same choice: perform or be present, seek or ground, fragment or anchor. Choose presence, not perfectly, not every time, but more often than not. And watch what happens. Watch how conflict dissolves when you refuse to defend. Watch how people follow your calm in crisis. Watch how disrespect evaporates when you hold your ground. Watch how authenticity in high-stakes moments creates deeper trust than any performance ever could. This is where quiet authority becomes unshakable. Not in the easy moments, in the fire. The journey began with exhaustion, with the bone-deep fatigue of performing, seeking, trying to earn respect through constant accommodation and endless adjustment. You were standing in rooms where no one saw you, speaking words that disappeared, watching less qualified people rise while you remained invisible despite your competence. You were tired. Tired of monitoring every interaction. Tired of rehearsing conversations. Tired of the gap between how hard you worked to be seen and how little it seemed to matter. You were tired of being tired. And now, here you are, at the end of this journey and the beginning of everything that comes next. Look at who you have become. You are no longer performing. You are present. You are no longer seeking approval from every interaction. You are grounded in yourself, complete whether others validate you or not. You are no longer exhausting yourself trying to prove your worth. You know your worth. You inhabit it. And that inhabitation is what others now recognize as authority. You command attention without demanding it. When you enter a room, something shifts. People feel it before they see you. Your nervous system, state, calm, centered, grounded, touches their nervous systems through mirror neurons, through the unconscious channels that assess safety and status in milliseconds. They turn toward you, not because you announced yourself, because your presence created gravity. You influence without manipulating. Your words land with weight because you speak from center, from truth, from a place beyond performance. You do not need to convince or persuade or prove. You simply offer what is real for you, and realness in a world of performance is magnetic. People lean in. They listen. They respect your perspective because you respect it first. You lead without announcing. In moments of crisis, of confusion, of collective uncertainty, your stillness becomes the point others orbit around. You do not have all the answers. You do not pretend to. But you are not fragmented by not knowing. You are grounded in the uncertainty, capable of thinking clearly when others panic, and that capacity is leadership. Respect is no longer something you chase. It is no longer something you earn through effort or strategy or endless accommodation. It is simply what happens when someone fully inhabits themselves, when someone stops fragmenting across 1,000 versions of who they think they should be and gathers into the wholeness of who they actually are. You are always worthy of respect, but worthiness alone does not command it. Embodiment does. And now you embody what you always were beneath the performance, solid, grounded, undeniably here. Notice the shifts that have already occurred, how conversations pause when you speak, not because you got louder or more forceful, but because your words carry a different quality now. You speak less, but when you do, people sense that something real is being offered. They stop their own noise to receive it. Notice how people seek your opinion without prompting. They ask what you think. They want to know your perspective. Not because you positioned yourself as an expert, but because your presence signals that you see clearly, that you are not caught in reactivity or performance, that your view comes from a grounded place worth considering. Notice how challenges that once triggered your performance patterns now simply require presence. Someone disagrees with you, and instead of the familiar spike of anxiety and the rush to defend, you feel your feet on the ground. You breathe. You hold your position without rigidity. The challenge passes through you without destabilizing you. Notice how silence no longer feels like failure. How you can sit in empty space without rushing to fill it. How you can let conversations breathe, let moments land, let others come to their own conclusions without you managing the process. Notice how your body feels different. The chronic tension has released. Your breath reaches your belly naturally. Your shoulders rest where they belong. The hypervigilance that once scanned every room for signs of approval or rejection has quieted. You are here. Simply, fully here. This is not small. This is transformation at the cellular level, in the wiring of your nervous system, in the neural pathways that now default to presence rather than performance. But there have been losses too, and these deserve acknowledgement. Some relationships have fallen away. The people who needed you to stay small, who were comfortable with the performing version of you, who could not adjust to your groundedness, they have drifted or departed. This hurts, even when you know intellectually that these relationships were not serving your growth. The loss is real. Some opportunities no longer call to you. The networking events that reward performance, the professional contexts that value loudness over depth, the social circles that mistake surface charm for substance. You have less patience for these spaces now. They feel hollow, and your absence from them might look like failure to people still playing that game. These are not failures. These are necessary releases. You are shedding what never fit, what you only tolerated when you believed you had to perform to belong. You are making space for relationships and opportunities that align with who you actually are, not who you pretended to be. Some people will not understand your evolution. They will say you have changed, and they will not mean it as a compliment. They will say you are less warm, less flexible, less fun. What they mean is, you are less willing to abandon yourself for my comfort. And they are right. You are less willing. You are unwilling, in fact. This is not coldness. This is integrity. This is choosing alignment over harmony. This is recognizing that not all connection is worth the cost of disconnection from yourself. And here is what you are discovering. The people who truly see you, who value what you have become, who meet your groundedness with their own, these relationships are deeper than anything you had when you were performing, because they are built on reality, not on the carefully managed image you were presenting. The vision of what comes next is a life lived from the inside out, where your internal state determines your external experience, not the reverse, where you walk through the world as yourself, complete and whole, and let the world respond however it responds. External validation becomes interesting but unnecessary. Someone praises you, and you receive it without inflating. Someone criticizes you, and you consider it without deflating. Both are just information, just feedback, just other people's perceptions passing through your awareness without defining you. Your value is self-evident. Not because you have proven it through achievement or performance, but because you have stopped arguing for your limitations. You have stopped believing the story that you need to be more, different, better to deserve respect. You simply are. And that is enough. Challenges still come. Of course they do. Life has not become easier just because you are more present. But challenges no longer destabilize you the way they once did. You meet them from center. You respond rather than react. You hold your ground without rigidity and adapt without abandoning yourself. You fail sometimes. You make mistakes. You have moments where the old patterns resurface and you find yourself performing again, seeking again, fragmenting again. And this is fine. This is human. Because you return faster now, you catch yourself mid-pattern. You anchor again. And each return strengthens the pathway, makes presence more accessible, more inevitable. Quiet authority is not a destination. It is not a state you achieve once and maintain forever through perfection. It is a practice. It is a return. It is the moment-to-moment choice to inhabit yourself fully rather than fragment across what others might want. Some days the choice is easy. You wake grounded. You move through the day from center. Presence feels natural, effortless, like coming home. Some days the choice is hard. You are triggered. You slip. You forget everything you have learned and revert to performance for hours before you even notice. And then you notice, and you choose again. And the choosing is the practice. This is mastery, not perfection, not never falling, but falling and rising, each time with more awareness, more compassion, more recognition that the falling is part of the process, not evidence of failure. You are enough. You have always been enough. This is not a platitude. This is a fact that your nervous system is learning to believe through direct experience, through the thousands of times you have chosen to anchor instead of perform, through the hundreds of moments you have held your ground when every instinct screamed to collapse, through the accumulation of evidence that you can be fully yourself and not only survive, but thrive. Your presence, uncontrived, unperformed, utterly yours, is the gift you bring to every space you enter. Not what you do, not what you achieve, not how you present yourself or manage perceptions. Just your presence, the quality of your being here, grounded, whole, available to life as it actually is rather than how you wish it would be. This is what people feel when they are around you now. They feel met, they feel seen, they feel safer because your nervous system is not in threat, and their mirror neurons register that safety. They feel respected because you respect yourself enough to stop performing, and that self-respect gives them permission to do the same. You have become a gravitational center, not through force, not through performance, through the simple, profound act of being fully present in your own life. And this is just the beginning, because every day you practice, the grooves deepen, the neural pathways strengthen, the default settings shift. What once required conscious effort becomes automatic. What once felt vulnerable becomes natural. What once seemed impossible becomes simply who you are. You are someone who commands respect without saying a word. Not because you learned techniques or strategies or tricks, because you learned to come home to yourself, to inhabit your body, to anchor in presence, to stop performing and start being. This is the power of quiet authority, and it has been yours all along. You were just taught to look for it everywhere except where it actually lives, in the grounded, centered, utterly present reality of you.